It is now 50 past the hour, time for a look at the tropics, and we've got some action once again over the eastern Pacific Ocean. But first of all, we're going to check on the Atlantic and also the Gulf of Mexico, see if there's anything brewing closer to home. And it looks like for the next several days, if you live in southeastern Texas, maybe parts of Louisiana, you're going to be looking at a ton of rainfall. Nothing tropical developing here. There's a lot of tropical moisture, a strong easterly and southeasterly flow around a big area of high pressure over the eastern part of the country. And with a developing storm system in the plain states that will continue to drop a lot of moisture again from the western Gulf into Texas, and there could be some excessive rainfall totals shaping up now for southeastern Texas, parts of Louisiana, maybe even a little bit farther than that into the central and southern plains during the next couple of days. But once again, nothing is brewing over the western Gulf of Mexico. This is just, again, a strong south flow coming in from the Gulf, heading on towards the north. Taking a look at the eastern part of the country, things are looking pretty decent here. And then, holy cow, what is this here? This looks like it's rather ominous, but it's nothing but an area of low pressure. It's caught up right now in an old front. It's zipping on towards the northeast, and even though it looks impressive here on the satellite picture, and as we look at the enhanced clouds, lots of deep convection and thunderstorms around it, this system too is non-tropical right now and is speeding on off towards the north. And there it goes up to the northeast. As you look at the western Caribbean, again we are looking at some convection here and there, but again we're looking at strong westerly winds. The chance of anything developing here basically is virtually nil for the time being, and probably will be for some time to come, because it looks like the hostile winds over this part of the world will continue for several more days. What about the central Caribbean? Looking at a flare-up of cloud cover from here to here to here. Again, we are looking at several waves beginning to move eastward, make that westward across the Caribbean right now, and also over the central Atlantic Ocean. But once again, nothing is organizing. We still have a lot of westerly winds aloft, not conducive for tropical development at this time, and that's going to be the story from this point forward as well. So again, you can see there are some rains around Puerto Rico, some squally weather there, and our low pressure system now connected up with the front and beginning to move on towards the northeast, has no bearing on the United States whatsoever. Right now we're looking at a brand new hurricane. This is Hurricane Pauline, the 2 o'clock advisory this morning, Pacific Daylight Time. You can see it was located at 13.2 degrees north, 94.3 degrees west, or about 210 miles south-southeast of Salina Cruz, Mexico. Top sustained winds right now, 130 miles per hour. They're gusting more than that. It is now moving north-northwest at 6 miles per hour. Just hugging the coastline right now of the southeastern coast of Mexico. That's going to spell some problems for sure. And the estimated pressure right now, 948 millibars. Let's show you what's going on right here with Pauline, because as you can clearly see, lots of deep convection right around the center of circulation. A well-defined hurricane right now. Now, bad news with this system was about a week ago, of course, we were dealing with Olaf right around the Gulf of Tehuantepec, right in through this region, and we saw a lot of heavy rain here and a lot of mudslides because of Olaf. It looks like Pauline right now, a much stronger hurricane, is going to be taking a similar path, and this time it's going to have stronger winds, stronger waves, and also a lot more rainfall, and it could be doing a lot more damage as well, because it's going to be going over just about the same general area as Olaf did as it moves on towards the north and northeast, basically north-northwest for the time being, just almost shunted more towards the north within a couple of days, right towards the Gulf of Tehuantepec. So it looks like some action going on over there in the eastern Pacific Ocean off the coast of Mexico. Olaf is still with us right now as of 2 o'clock this morning. His top sustained winds 35 miles per hour, easterly bound at 5 miles per hour. Again, the center of circulation well down to the southwest of all this convection, and even though it looks impressive on the satellite picture, this thing is really dissipating quickly as of the present time. What about to the southeast of Hawaii? You can see the string of pearls right here, and the hurricane center out of Hawaii says we're going to name this one a depression, and they did. Top sustained winds 30 miles per hour, tropical depression 3C, and again, this is moving westward 18 miles per hour. More to go at the top of the hour. We've got Bruce and Marshall. Stick around.
Do you have trouble driving in the rain? Is the glare on
Well, certainly it has been a quiet hurricane season in the Atlantic this year. Origins of storms in October generally in these areas, nothing much has been happening because of the shearing environment that some think is one of the results of our very strong El Nino year. Now, in the first week, 10 days of October, these are the areas where tropical storm formation has occurred in the last 101 years, 83 storms. And look at the concentration on the Western Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico, pretty significant. But out here we also have some that have formed, and we already have one this morning now that formed. Remember over the last couple of days we've been telling you about this system, this disturbance, an area of disturbed weather that's been sitting out here in the Western Atlantic. Well, that is now Tropical Depression number 7. TD7 is centered at 29.7 north, 56.0 west. It's 545 miles east-southeast of Bermuda. Winds are 35 miles per hour. It's moving east-northeast at 14 miles per hour and is not a threat to any land areas. And it is the seventh tropical system of the national hurricane, or of the hurricane season. So fortunately, it's out to sea, and it looks like it will continue to go out to sea, and in 72 hours, it is forecast to become extratropical. Meanwhile, shearing environment here in the Caribbean is keeping anything from developing right now. Strong westerly winds. You can see the shear that occurs when convection develops, so showers and thunderstorms. As these were diving to the southwest, the shearing environment has taken off the tops of those to the northeast. Strong shear here. That is generally very unconducive to tropical storm formation. Another wave headed toward the Lesser Antilles. See how it like stalls out when it hits these westerlies, and then we see that familiar break off of the clouds at the upper levels streaming to the north and east. We're almost at the end of the Cape Verde season, called that because of tropical storm formation out here around the Cape Verde Islands off the coast of Africa. Nothing here that looks like it's going to develop anything into anything of a tropical nature. Big trough of low pressure out west. Not unfamiliar to us this year. We've had a couple, and they've been very strong, each around hurricane time, it seems. Linda, there was a trough to the north that helped divert Linda to the east and to the north, and the same with Nora after that. And now we have another hurricane, Hurricane Pauline, which is off the coast of Mexico. It's centered at 13.5 north and 94.6 west. It's 190 miles south-southeast of Salina Cruz, Mexico. Its winds are 130 miles per hour. That's a Category 3 hurricane, and it's moving north-northwest at 5. It's central pressure at 948 millibars. You can see the convection that's wrapped around the center of circulation, the eye right here on the infrared picture. And if you tune back in about 1 hour, you also see a visible satellite picture of this, I think they'll be showing. And then we also have out a little further off the coast of Mexico, Olaf. But right now, Pauline stands a major threat to the Gulf of Tehuantepec. It is forecast to move to the north-northwest and then take a little more westerly track, which would put it up near Mexico City or the remnants of it by Friday morning about 8 o'clock Eastern time. Makes it about 5 o'clock out in the central or mountain time zone sometime early in the morning, with still packing winds perhaps to 30 knots, even at 7,000 feet of interest to see what happens around Mexico City. There is a hurricane warning in effect for Punta Maldonado to Tapachula, and now we still have Olaf to contend with. Olaf fired some convection earlier today. It's centered at 15.7 north, 112.5 west, 515 miles south-southwest of Cabo San Lucas, still packing winds at 35 miles per hour, probably will not strengthen, is inching its way to the east, could bring some more rain to Mexico over time. Look at these thunderstorms that have continued to develop with Olaf. Ooh. Can't get rid of Olaf. Meanwhile, out toward Hawaii, the Storm Prediction Center, or the Tropical Prediction Center, is looking at TD3C, not to strengthen either. Bruce?
I'll tell you, it's really tough to believe it's autumn.
place on Earth has better weather. This tropical update is sponsored by Lowe's Home Improvement Warehouse.
Well, we went nearly a month without getting a tropical depression or a storm or hurricane in the Atlantic. We don't have a storm or a hurricane now. We do have a tropical depression, albeit a pretty weak one. The winds are 35 miles an hour. It's centered 590 miles to the east-southeast of Bermuda, and it is moving toward the east about 9 miles an hour. Now, lest anyone be worried about this, we don't think it's going to increase very much. We believe it's going to stay a depression, not get to a tropical storm, and in any case, it's not going to affect anybody in this part of the world. The circulation center at the surface is actually way here, far away from where these thick white clouds are, and that's because these clouds are moving faster than the storm is moving, so it's leaving the center exposed, as we say, and such a system isn't likely to increase very much. So this is a tropical depression, and we believe that that's about all that is going to come of it. Now, looking at the Atlantic, we have a big high pressure here centered now over Mexico, and it is really supporting this very powerful Hurricane Pauline we have off the Pacific coast. We're also seeing a little ridging in the upper atmosphere now in the western Gulf of Mexico, and sort of in response to that, we could say we have quite an array of showers all the way from southern Louisiana all the way down into the Bay of Campeche. So far, we're not seeing any sign of organization there. We doubt if we will, because the lowest pressure we see out there is down here in the Bay of Campeche, and that's only about 500 miles or so away from the hurricane. Out in the Atlantic, we still have a disturbance at low latitudes here, but these westerly winds here will preclude, we believe, any development there. Here we can see that system again, and even though we have quite a few showers there, some of them heavy, not likely to see any development there. Not likely to see it in the Caribbean either, because there we still have strong northwesterly winds. You can tell that by these cloud plumes that you see blowing off the shower and the thunderstorm tops. Now, as you mentioned a minute ago, here in the Gulf of Mexico, very heavy showers off southern Louisiana. Most of these off the Texas coast are offshore, except up here in the northeast coast from around the Galveston Bay area, some heavy showers. For the most part, the ones to the south are staying offshore of Mexico and not showing any signs of organization, although to be sure the pressure is fairly low there. It's about 1,008 millibars or so, and they have fairly strong north winds sustained about 25 miles per hour there at Veracruz all afternoon. But as we said, this area is only about 400 miles north of Hurricane Pauline, and here is Hurricane Pauline. Now, if there's any good news about this, it is that it has diminished some. It was up to 130 miles an hour. Now it is down to 120, but it hasn't moved very much. And whenever you have a storm like that that doesn't move, you've got to worry a little bit more about it, because that makes the eventual movement a little bit more uncertain. On the other hand, since it's stopped essentially and not expected to move very much for the next 12 hours, we're pretty confident it's not going to move up here real fast to the coast of Mexico, where they do have out hurricane warnings, by the way. From Punta Maldonado down to Tapachula, we have hurricane warnings, although the hurricane so far has been staying far enough off the coast so that they certainly aren't getting hurricane conditions. Now, what we're seeing here is that these deep reds kind of come and go a little bit. They faded out earlier this afternoon, and you'll notice that right around the center of circulation the last few hours, they've increased again. So this is still a very powerful hurricane indeed, and so folks along the coast of Mexico do need to be concerned about this and keep very close track of what's going on. Once it does come up here and begin to mix with land, of course, it will diminish pretty rapidly, but some extremely heavy rains are likely here. And since the terrain down there is such that the mountains come almost down to the seashore, it's subject to flooding from the kind of torrential rains that you would get with a hurricane, especially this hurricane. Here on the visible picture, we can still clearly see right there where the circulation center is, but you just see that counterclockwise